Hi there, I'm Lily, and I thought I would just do a little video intro to nurturing nature equine and the work that I'm doing. Thought I would do it in one of my favourite places here, my doggies in the background. So really how it's come about is that throughout my veterinary career so far, there have been several themes that have repeatedly come up. So the first theme is seeking and processing information and advice and making decisions from that. And the second one is communication and cooperation or collaboration between all parties involved. So whether that's between you and your horse, or maybe between your horse and your farrier, or maybe your vet and your saddle fitter, for example. So where these things tend to show up is really anywhere along the chain of events, whether it's from the first moment of detecting that there might be a problem, or feeling like that something is not quite right but not really sure exactly what, all the way through to choosing which plan of action to go to diagnose the problem, reaching a definitive diagnosis, making a plan for how to go forward with treatment, implementing that plan, and then evaluating your progress and knowing whether to carry on or to change tack. So problems with any of those areas really, they don't all boil down to those two themes, but those two themes I think are often not part of the conversation, and they actually do have a big impact. So really, when you're having challenges, there's a very complex web of interconnections, and pulling on those individual threads and knowing how they're all interconnected together is really part of unraveling the solution to your challenges. So there are many threads to this web of interconnections, and perhaps a handy, not so handy term, one which is sometimes applied to the phenomenon of pain, in fact, is a biopsycho-socio-environmental approach. So yeah, it's not a handy term, but it's useful if I just tease it apart to demonstrate the complexities at work here. So rather than just looking at the biological aspects of pain, so for example a nerve ending picking up a noxious stimulus and converting it into a nerve impulse, and then that nerve impulse travelling through the peripheral and the central nervous system, being modified along the way, and eventually being perceived by our consciousness, what actually makes up the phenomenon of pain is not just this biological process, but it is how we experience this pain. And that is affected by many more factors than just the biological. So it's affected by our cognition, our thought processes. It's very much affected by our emotions, our emotional state, perhaps when the noxious stimulus was applied. Perhaps there was no noxious stimulus. That is a thing. You can have spontaneous pain. It's very much affected by social interactions. So if we're talking about horses, that can be intra-species, so the access to and the type of connections that horses have with other horses. And it can also be interspecies, so our dealings with our horses. Now another rabbit hole is actually intraspecies when it comes to people. Our interactions, our relationships do have a knock-on effect on our horses, and could even have a knock-on effect on our horses' pain. I find that fascinating. And then environmental really is, I think that it could go to a full planetary level, but it's also just as practical as lifestyle, circumstances, settings. Now, this approach is very well illustrated by pain, but it's not only pain that it applies to, it also applies whether you're talking about a metabolic condition, something to do with movement, anything really. So if you are experiencing challenges with your horse, whether that's getting to the root of a problem, or whether it's implementing a plan in a way that aligns with your values, or whether it's actually getting results, whether your horse is perhaps just not getting better, I think it's worthwhile looking at unraveling this web. So what I'm offering is one-to-one video consultations where we can really dive deep into this web of interconnections, how it's working in your unique case, and how we can really make it work for you and your horse's well-being. And I will also be starting up some group question and answer calls, also over Zoom, and putting together some educational materials, webinars, and whatnot, and to help to dive more deeply into these topics. So if you're interested, then follow my page, Nurturing Nature Equine. My website is www.nurturingnatureequine.co.uk. At the moment, I'm running an offer on the video consult, so 15% off the cost of a consult if you book a slot before the 30th of November. Just put the coupon code ADVICE in at the checkout. I hope to meet you soon.